Welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to start an amazing journey through time. We will explore the long, beautiful, and sometimes dramatic history of England. This series is specially made to help you upgrade your listening skills using simple, clear, and natural English. As you listen, try to focus on the pronunciation, the rhythm of the words, and the flow of the sentences. Get ready to discover how a small island became a global empire. Let us begin our journey now. A very long time ago, the land we now call England was completely different. It was a wild place covered with deep green forests, massive rivers, and rolling hills. The first people who lived there were ancient tribes, and later a group of people called the Celts arrived. These people lived in small, peaceful villages, farmed the rich land, and made beautiful things out of metal and stone. They loved nature and lived simple lives for hundreds of years. But in the year 43 AD, everything changed forever. The powerful Roman Empire decided to sail across the sea to conquer this green island. The Romans had a massive, highly disciplined army with great shields and sharp swords. The Celtic tribes fought bravely to protect their homes, but the Roman army was too strong and organized. Soon, the Romans took control of the southern part of the island and named it Britannia. The Romans stayed in Britain for about 400 years, and they changed the land completely. They did not just fight, they built incredible things that lasted for centuries. Imagine big, straight roads made of stone connecting different parts of the country. They built the very first proper cities, including a famous town called Londinium, which we know today as London. They also built large public baths, beautiful villas with colorful floors, and massive walls to protect their new towns. One of the most famous things they built was Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian, a Roman emperor, ordered his soldiers to build a giant stone wall across the north of the country. This wall was built to keep out the wild tribes from the north who kept attacking the Roman towns. It was miles long, with guards watching from tall towers day and night. However, all empires must come to an end. By the 5th century, the Roman Empire in Europe was growing weak and faced many enemies at home. The Roman soldiers in Britain were needed back in Rome to defend their own capital city. So, in the year 410 AD, the last Roman soldiers packed up their weapons, got onto their ships, and sailed away. They left the local people alone, frightened and completely unprotected. After the Romans left, the land became very quiet, but not for long. New groups of people from Germany and Denmark saw that the island was unprotected. These people were called the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes. They crossed the stormy sea in wooden boats and began to settle in the country. Over time, these groups mixed together and became known as the Anglo-Saxons. They gave the country a new name, Angleland, which later became England. The Anglo-Saxons did not like the old Roman cities. Instead, they preferred to live in the countryside, close to nature. They built small farming villages with wooden houses and warm, cozy halls where they could tell stories by the fire. They introduced the early form of the English language that we speak today. They also brought new traditions, laws, and a deep love for farming and family life. But history is full of surprises, and soon a new danger arrived from the sea. In the late 8th century, Tall ships with dragon heads carved on the front appeared on the coast. These were the Vikings, fierce warriors from Norway and Denmark. They attacked towns, took gold, and burned down monasteries. The people of England were terrified because the Vikings were fast, strong, and highly dangerous. The Vikings did not just come to attack, they decided to stay and take the land for themselves. They conquered many of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms one by one. It seemed like all of England would fall to the Vikings, but then a great leader stood up. His name was King Alfred, and he is the only English king in history to be called the Great. King Alfred was not just a brave soldier, he was also a very smart man. He built fast ships to fight the Vikings at sea and created strong walled towns to protect his people. After many long battles, Alfred defeated the Viking leader and made a peace treaty. They divided the land, allowing the Vikings to stay in the north while Alfred ruled the south. King Alfred saved the English language and helped unite the people as one nation. In the year 1066, England faced a year of great drama and change. The old Anglo-Saxon king died, and he did not leave any children to take the throne. Immediately, 3 different men claimed that they should be the next king of England. One was an English nobleman named Harold, another was a Viking king, and the third was a powerful French duke named William of Normandy. Duke William claimed that the old king had promised the throne to him years before. When Harold became king instead, William became extremely angry. He gathered a massive army of knights, horses, and archers and sailed across the sea from France to invade England. King Harold had just finished fighting the Vikings in the north when he heard that William had landed in the south. His tired soldiers had to march all the way down the country without any rest. In a windy October day, the 2 armies met at the famous Battle of Hastings. It was a long, terrible battle that lasted the whole day. The English soldiers stood close together, creating a strong wall with their heavy shields. The French knights charged up the hill again and again, but they could not break the English line. Then Duke William used a clever trick. He ordered his men to pretend to run away. The English soldiers thought they were winning, so they broke their line to chase the French. This was a big mistake. The French turned around and attacked the disorganized English. During the chaotic fight, King Harold was hit in the eye by an arrow and died on the battlefield. With their king dead, the English army lost hope and ran away. On Christmas Day in the year 1066, William was crowned King of England in London. He became known to history as William the Conqueror. The Normans brought the French language, which mixed with the Old English language, to create many new words we use today. William also built massive stone castles all over the country, including the famous Tower of London, to show everyone that he was now the absolute ruler. Life in England during the Middle Ages was a time of castles, brave knights, and powerful kings. The society was organized like a pyramid, where the king owned all the land and the poor farmers had to work very hard just to survive. Knights rode on strong horses, wore heavy metal armor, and promised to protect the king and the church. It was a time of deep religious faith, and beautiful, tall cathedrals were built in every major city. However, not all kings were good leaders. In the early 13th century, England was ruled by King John, who is remembered as one of the worst kings in history. King John was greedy, cruel, and unfair. He demanded large amounts of money from his nobles and threw people in prison without a proper trial. The wealthy nobles, called barons, became so angry that they decided to stand up against him. In the year 1215, the barons forced King John to meet them in a green meadow called Runnymede. They brought a legal document and told the king that he must sign it or they would start a civil war. The king had no choice but to agree. This famous document was called the Magna Carta, which means the Great Charter. The Magna Carta was incredibly important because it established a new rule: even the king must obey the law. Think about how important this is. It meant the king could no longer do whatever he wanted. It stated that no free person could be punished or put in prison without a fair trial by a group of citizens. This document became the foundation of modern freedom, democracy, and law, not just in England, but all around the world. The Middle Ages also brought great challenges to the country. In the 14th century, a terrible sickness called the Black Death arrived in England. It spread quickly through towns and villages, and nearly half of the population died. Although it was a tragic time, it changed the country forever because there were fewer workers left. The poor farmers could now demand better wages and more freedom, slowly changing the balance of power in society. In 1485, a new family came to power, called the Tudors. This family would rule England during one of its most famous and dramatic periods. The most well-known Tudor king was Henry VIII. He was a tall, powerful man who loved sports, music, and grand celebrations. King Henry is famous because he had 6 different wives during his life, and he changed the religion of the country completely. When the leader of the Catholic Church in Rome refused to let Henry end his first marriage, the king became furious. He broke away from the Catholic Church and created the Church of England, making himself the supreme leader. He closed down all the old monasteries and took their wealth. This grand change split the country between people who wanted to stay Catholic and people who wanted to change. In much drama, Henry's daughter, Elizabeth I, became queen. Her rule is often called the Golden Age of English history. Elizabeth was highly intelligent, brave, and ruled the country successfully for 45 years. She brought stability back to the land and refused to marry, choosing to say that she was married to the country of England instead. During her rule, England faced a massive danger from Spain. The King of Spain sent a huge fleet of 130 warships called the Spanish Armada to conquer England. Queen Elizabeth rode out to meet her soldiers, wearing bright armor, and gave a famous speech to inspire them. Thanks to the bravery of the English sailors and a massive storm at sea, the giant Spanish fleet was completely defeated. The Elizabethan era was also a wonderful time for art, literature, and discovery. Great English explorers sailed around the world in wooden ships to discover new lands. In London, theaters became highly popular, and a writer named William Shakespeare wrote incredible plays that people still watch today. England became a wealthy, confident, and powerful nation on the world stage. As the centuries passed, England joined with Scotland and Wales to form Great Britain. In the 19th century, the country entered a period of massive change called the Industrial Revolution. Inventors created powerful steam engines, large factories, and long railways that connected cities. People moved from small farming villages into big cities to work in the new factories. Goods could now be made much faster and cheaper than ever before. This was the Victorian era, named after Queen Victoria, who ruled for over 60 years. During this time, Britain became the richest and most powerful country in the world. Its empire grew so large that it covered a quarter of the entire world, leading to the phrase, "the empire on which the sun never sets." British ships carried goods, ideas, and the English language to every corner of the earth. The 20th century brought two terrible world wars that shook the entire world. Britain and its people had to fight bravely to protect their freedom. During the Second World War, the city of London was bombed heavily, but the people showed great courage and refused to give up. Led by their famous Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, they stood firm and helped defeat the enemy. After the wars, the world changed once again. The British Empire slowly came to an end as countries around the world gained their independence. Britain invited people from all over the world to come and help rebuild the nation. This turned England into a modern, diverse, and multicultural society where different traditions mix together beautifully. Today, England is a fascinating blend of its long history and modern life. You can see ancient Roman walls, medieval stone castles, and beautiful Tudor buildings standing right next to modern glass skyscrapers. Remember that every time you speak or listen to English, you are connecting with a language that was shaped by kings, queens, warriors, and poets over thousands of years. Thank you for listening to the story of England, and keep practicing your listening skills.